Hello and welcome to Week 2, Unit 4. After having discussed purchasing, we'll continue with the goods receipt process. In this unit, I will highlight the inbound delivery processing with the goods receipt confirmations in the warehouse. The goods receipt process is connected pretty much to the logistics layout of your site. Stefan introduced this in the first week in the internal supply chain unit. You may remember, the logistics models describe the process flow through the warehouse. It is designed based on the same modeling principles for inbound and outbound processes. It allows very lean processes or more sophisticated logistics processes. If you have a lean layout of your warehouse with mainly one logistics area, in SAP Business Bydesign, this is reflected through a one-step logistics model, highlighted with number 2 for the inbound side. On the other hand, with a more sophisticated warehouse, you might want to get transparency in inventory, what is temporarily stored in the receiving staging area before the put-away happens to the storage rack. This corresponds to a two-step logistics model with unload and put-away tasks. You see it reflected by number 1 and 2. It works in the same way for the outbound side with a pick and load step, represented by number 5 and 6. I'm going to show you some more aspects of the logistics model now. The inbound logistics models control the movement of the received products to the destination storage areas. We offer two different inbound logistic model types. One is standard receiving, the other is goods return receiving. You can control the process steps for returned products different from the purchased products. For example, if you want to enable quality inspection for the returned goods. The standard receiving logistic models covers both the supplier delivery and the internal stock transfer inbound deliveries. The goods return receiving logistics model incorporates any return process, both the customer returns and the spare part returns process in the same way. For each step, you can define the granularity of the related task. For example, they can be splitted per storage group or per item. For work efficiency, you can decide if your task should be created automatically or manually. They are directly distributed to the folders for the responsible warehouse workers. I will give you further details on general task management in Unit 6. The logistics models provide the logistic use as input to the material flow rules introduced by Stefan to determine in inbound, especially the destination logistic areas. Besides this one or two-step approach, you always have the option to work without task in parallel. Last but not least, with the confirmation of tasks, the inventory is updated accordingly and goods received is posted. Now let's see how the task derived from the logistics model are embedded in the broader process. Here you see 3 examples on how you can structure your goods receipt process. Be aware that there are a lot of scalable options between those. The first use case shows the minimum number of steps to perform the goods receipts. You can directly record it from the purchase order without tasks. If you usually process the goods receipt based on the delivery note from the supplier, you use the inbound delivery notification as a starting point, as represented in the use case 2. The put-away task shows up in the work list for the warehouse clerk. With the worker's task confirmation, the goods receipt is posted to stock and the inbound delivery is created. The document stores the actual quantities and its input for the subsequent invoicing. The third use case shows the complete and most advanced process design that is possible. It starts with the advanced shipping notification or ASN that you usually receive through electronic messaging XML, which notifies you about the date and quantity of incoming goods in the next couple of days. The information is stored at the inbound delivery notification. Once the goods have arrived in the site, the status can be set to received. Based on this, the warehouse request can be created. The warehouse requests give the warehouse manager an overview of the warehouse workload and the possibility to create tasks more selectively. Most of our customers automate this step. Then the 2 steps for unload and put away follow, and the last confirmation of the put away completes the inbound delivery process. Now I will show you how the receipt process looks in the system. I will show you now the second use case here in the system, and it starts with the truck driver arriving at our site, and he will unload the goods and hand over the supplier delivery note. Then the inbound clerk would use the inbound logistics work center to maintain the supplier's inbound delivery note. So with the new supplier delivery notification, they will start, and if possible, they will refer to the purchase order items that is usually mentioned on the delivery note from the supplier. So in our case, this is the purchase order 713, and then I move on. And I have to maintain the ID of the supplier's delivery note. I use here this as an example. And on the delivery note also the quantity is mentioned, and since they have confirmed 10 pieces, they have only sent pieces to us. So that's what I maintain from the delivery note, and go to the review step. And from here I can initiate further processing. So in use case 2, we would like to immediately create the tasks, and that's how I set up the process. So the warehouse request, we will create here the warehouse request, and then with the release, the tasks are automatically created for the warehouse worker. If I use the Finish button, that would refer to use case 3. So with the save, I get then the information that the supplier delivery notification is saved, and we will take that also as reference for the further steps. In this list here, we also see that an ASN can be stored here as an inbound delivery notification. It will get the status advised until the goods arrive. Once the goods arrive, we can set the status to received, and then the process will continue as usual. Also from this list here, I can post the goods received without task. I would do that here with that button. So now the warehouse worker takes over, and they usually work in the execution work center, and since we are in inbound, with the inbound warehouse tasks. This is here the list of pending tasks to be fulfilled. Usually the worker will get the information either via a mobile device or via an automated printout of the task. So our task is this here with the respective reference ID. So I will show you the preview of the printout. And as most important data, you see here the product ID, the quantity, and the target logistic area where the goods should be stored. This is proposed and determined by the material flow rules that Stefan introduced in the first unit. So once the worker has stored the goods, they will represent what they have done here in the system. In case there were no deviations, he can use the confirmed as planned button, and that's all. If there are deviations, they would use the confirm button to change, for example, the quantity in case it was less than it should be. With changing the quantity, the deviation reason opens here, and with reporting a missing part, that would be sent then to the manager for further clarifications. So now I will switch that back here for our example. And additionally, also you see here below, the logistics area could be changed in case the proposed logistics area was blocked. There might be a need to, or there might have been a need to store the goods as another bin or another logistic area. Also you can split these quantities if the full quantity does not fit into one bin. This we would do with the split quantities functionality. So now for us, everything should be fine and as expected, so I just save it now. And with the save, an inbound delivery is created. This inbound delivery holds all the confirmed information from the task, and this is also the connector and the input document for further invoicing. So let's have a look at this here on the outbound delivery side. And I will just change the sorting. And we see here for the delivery notification that we just created, the inbound delivery 13886 was created. So now let's return to the slides. And after we had a look at the goods receipt process in the warehouse, I will show you now a variant with quality inspections. First, I would like to begin with some background information. Quality inspections are used to check whether a material meets predefined quality requirements. In some cases, this is needed to ensure compliance with agreed specifications or to comply with legal requirements or industry standards. Furthermore, it can help also to reduce costs. The steps of an inspection process are displayed here. It can be embedded via the logistics model, not only in the goods receipt process, but also in the customer returns processes or in production. An unplanned quality inspection can be manually initiated to document an unexpected issue so that the quality engineer can have a look and decide on further usage. There is no prerequisite for this unplanned inspection. On the other hand, planned inspections can be triggered automatically if activated in the logistics model, and you need an inspection plan for this that determines which products or suppliers should be inspected. Additionally, it controls how much is checked, how often, and in which manner. Once a good receipt is posted, the execution of the quality inspection can start. The quality inspector checks the samples, eventually supported by the inspection instructions, and record the results, either by entering a text in the notes, by attaching documents, or by maintaining quantitative or qualitative characteristics. The quality engineer completes the inspection by making a final decision if the product are accepted or rejected for further use. You can post the stock to restricted or unrestricted or return it to the supplier. Furthermore, you can analyze the defects in a report. We will complete now the procure-to-pay process with the supplier invoice. Supplier invoice records the obligation of the recipient of the goods to the suppliers to pay, and it's usually sent when the suppliers have delivered the goods. Since you usually want to pay only for the delivered goods and only at the agreed price, you can use the verification functions in the supplier invoice that takes into account the purchase order, the goods received information, and the supplier invoice data. We call it a three-way match regarding price and quantity. The analysis of the supplier invoice also consists of a check for duplicate invoices. Any variances are recorded as exceptions. All exceptions must be resolved or clarified in order to post the invoice. Your company may deal with some suppliers on a regular basis. To streamline the invoicing process, you can arrange to pay suppliers using evaluated receipt settlements or ERS. This means that these suppliers do not need to send your supplier invoices. Instead, the system uses the prices in the purchase orders and the quantities in the inbound deliveries to create and post supplier invoices automatically on behalf of the suppliers. With posting the invoice, the data is transferred to finance to enable the payment. Now I will show you how invoicing looks like in the system. So I go back to the Launchpad, and either the purchaser or a financial clerk is responsible for posting the supplier invoices, and in our case we assume we get the supplier invoice by email. And so it's not received automatically, so I have to maintain it here in the system with the invoice entries. So the system, I will just change the sourcing. The system provides me here with a list of all deliveries that are to be invoiced. And we have here our inbound delivery notification that we can take as a reference. So now I continue here with the creation of the invoice, basically based on the electronic document of the supplier invoice. So now we have here the information from the purchase order shown here with the supplier information, and I will maintain here the external document. That might be this number, and this supplier invoice usually has a date, and I will take the same date as today. Below we see here the items, and usually it would be maybe more than one item, and we see also here the quantity of 10 proposed, which is related to the inbound delivery. So in case my supplier invoice document contains a different price, I would maintain it here. So if it's 120 instead of 100, I can change it here. So when I check now this invoice, I get immediately the exception raised. And for better visibility, I go into the exceptions section. Where I can see the error messages displayed here again. So now I need to take action as the responsible clerk, and I will call the supplier to clarify why the price is not as expected. After the clarification, I'm getting the information that this was a mistake, and they will send us a corrected supplier invoice. So now I can correct the price again. That would result immediately in an empty exception space here, and that would allow me to post the invoice to financials. So now let's go back to the slides. So we are at the end of the unit now. Let me summarize what we talked about. You learned how the logistics model controls the goods receipt process and that it can be used in a simple or more advanced way. We had a look at the inspection plans and how it impacts on the quality inspection for incoming goods. And in the end, you learned how to verify and release the supplier invoice. I hope you have enjoyed this unit. See you in the next one.